everyone, good morning. My name is Brianna and I am one of the student representatives of Caribbean Visionary Educators. And I'm really excited today because I have the opportunity to sit and chat with a very special guest, Professor Carrington, who is one of our phenomenal women in science in the Caribbean. Thank you, Professor Carrington, for agreeing to talk with us today.
Thank you so much, Brianna. My pleasure.
So, firstly, can you tell us a little about yourself, please?
Okay, so I work at the University of the West Indies. I am a professor of molecular genetics and virology. I am head of the Department of Preclinical Sciences, and I have been at UE since 1996, so a very long time. Prior to that, I did my studies, my university studies at the University of London, where first I did a first degree in biotechnology at King's College, University of London. And then straight after, I went into my PhD, which is in molecular virology. And that was done at the Institute of Cancer Research, also University of London. So that's my university background. Before that, I was, I went to primary school in Trinidad. I'm a Trinidadian, born here, went to St. Joseph Girls RC School, and then afterwards to St. Augustine Girls High School. So that's my journey to where I am today.
That is really admirable. Really nice. Okay, so as you may have known, currently in the education system, there's an argument concerning STEM versus STEAM. Mm-hmm. So do you think that the arts should be incorporated into the STEM formulation to create STEAM?
You know, I think that it really depends on how you look at the two things. I've seen some arguments where they say that STEM is not necessarily about those subjects, but about integrating all of those disciplines and the sort of creating a more holistic approach to problem solving by integrating all of those things. And I think that in order to do that, there's a level of creativity and innovation, and you have to be aware of what's going on in the world around you beyond science and technology and engineering. You have to know about people's needs, people's wants, how people are thinking. And I think that comes from the arts. I also feel that as scientists, you often have to communicate very complex ideas to people, to a wide variety of people. You spend a lot of time speaking to your peers, but you also have to speak to students. You have to speak to the general public, the lay public. You have to speak to artists. I mean, so I think it all has to come together. And I think the best scientists are people who have some scientists and technologists and engineers and stuff are those who have some foothold in the arts as well. I am no great artist, but when I was growing up, and now I read a lot. I read a lot of literature, fiction. I used to do music at school, so it's, and many of the scientists I know, really good scientists, they all do something in the arts as well. I think it's important to feed off each other. We'd be lost without the arts, I think.
Yes, I definitely agree with you on that. So do you think that we in the Caribbean are incorporating the arts into the science?
Unfortunately not. I think that in the Caribbean, people, I think there's this very strong, people don't have as much respect as they should for the arts. And it's sort of set aside, and there's this great focus, parents, things are changing, but parents want their children to be a doctor or an engineer and things like this. And there's this great focus on maths and chemistry and biology and physics, and those are the good subjects. And then people who do arts and music and stuff, they sort of put them as, those are easy subjects, which is not the case. And they all have equal footing, and they should all be treated with the same level of respect. And I think we need to do a much better job of integrating them. one of the biggest difficulties I have right now in teaching my medical students at the Faculty of Medical Sciences is the level of, I would like to see them have a better, a broader understanding of the world, and greater literary breadth. You know, and they're too focused. Language skills are not what they should be. I really feel we need to do a better job. We're ignoring a large part of what we need, and to the detriment of the other areas, the sciences, the technology, the engineering, the mathematics.
Okay, I understand. And how do you think schools can do a better job for this?
Oh, well, I'm not, how do I think schools can do a better job? Well, I think that when you teach students, I am not, I mean, education is not my, I mean, I'm a lecturer, I'm an educator, but I did not study education, which is a field in itself, and you know about how the different techniques for teaching and things, that's not my area of expertise. But what I would like to see is, as I said, equal time for all the different subjects that are involved, not just a focus on math and, you know, math and well, they do focus on English because that's, you know, it's a section in the exams and in primary school, etc. But, you know, they also giving children time to be creative, time for art. When, you know, in primary school, when exams are coming up, everything else gets abandoned. There's no more music, there's no more PE, there's no more drama, there's no more in play. All of that has to be brought back and given some balance. Children need a rounded education. They can't just drop off everything. And I don't know. That's my feeling.
I understand what you're trying to say, because with my personal experience, I am a science student for a few years now, and I was also the president of the art club. And I realized as I got older and as the years went by, the arts and just the amount of attention that was given to it, not by me, but by everybody else, it faded away. And
Yes.
now it just turned to this clear cut science. So, you know, and it is true what you said about the language, how it should be, but it isn't. I do catch myself fall into that. It is true.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing because you know, just simple things for students, simple things like writing an exam question, you know, reading an exam question and writing an answer. Sometimes I find that students, they think they've written one thing, but they've written something else. And it's only because of the limitations in language skills. You know, it's in their head, but getting it from their head to the paper in a way that it conveys exactly what they want to say, that becomes difficult. I also think that the you know, creativity is so important. And as scientists as well, in addition to having to communicate with, as part of communicating with the public, you have to communicate with people in the arts. So when you know, if you want to, you know, describe a particular, let's say a particular biochemical process or something, you might need an artist to draw that for you. And you need to be able to talk to them. They need to be able to talk to you. They need to be able to understand what you're saying. It's the same way that if you are like me as a virologist, I have to be able to converse with people who are in mathematics or in computing, because all those worlds are so closely you know, integrated now that everybody has to be communicating. And I feel that when we have people in little boxes, it's to the detriment of the whole. So I really would like to see more of that integration and a more holistic approach to education.
Okay, so I understand the boxes, that is real. It is true. So I remember that you mentioned your university students, and I know that you said that they seem, well, basically they seem so clear cut into the sciences, but do you see like a want from them to appreciate the arts? And does the university do anything to encourage that?
Oh, well, okay, so I mean, they're not all one-dimensional people. I shouldn't, cast them in that light. They are students who have a lot of other interests. When you're teaching very, very large classes like I do, you don't get to know them as individuals. So there's probably a lot going on that I don't know of. At the university, we have a lot of different clubs and activities that students take part in. They have, well, before COVID, they would have concerts, they would organize, all types of events. So, and they play football and they have all different team sports, everything. So there's a lot to do. I think, however, at least in my faculty of Medical Sciences, the workload is so heavy that a lot of them find it difficult to balance that. And I think the onus is on us as well to try, as lecturers, to try our best to not to overburden the students, so that they have that space to develop themselves in other areas. But it's difficult for me to know exactly what's going on everywhere, especially since I am on the Faculty of Medical Sciences is at the hospital in Mount Hope. It's not on the main UE campus. So the campus life on main campus is a little, I think, probably more dynamic than on the hospital, in the hospital grounds. So being based at the hospital, we miss out a lot on what's going on on a whole for the students on on the campus. So we miss out. So I might have a biased view of what is going on.
I understand. So, as you may have known, yesterday was the World's International Day for Women and Girls in Science.
Yes.
So, I just have a few questions on your opinions concerning that topic. So, firstly, do we have equal representation of women in science, would you say?
Okay, so it varies over time. So right now we've reached the stage where at university level, and I think at high school, and we all have access to free primary school education, free high school education, and then at the university we actually have a larger number of women than men involved in the sciences and technology and engineering and all that. So we have a big number of women. Women are doing well at that level. In fact, we would like to see more men on the university campus. But after that now, when you move forward, then you start to see some disparities because women, once you get on the job now, you find that even though you're just as capable and you have all the tools and everything, you might be advancing more slowly than the men. So at the top, you still have, it's biased towards men. And it varies from one field to the next, the extent of that. So there is still some, a lot of work to be done to allow women to move forward. A lot of times it's because it's assumed that, if there are childcare issues and things, and it's women who's going to have to sacrifice, if a child needs to go to lessons or something like that, it's the woman who's going to leave the office early and go and pick up the child and take them to lessons in most cases, whereas the man is, staying in his job because he has an important meeting, right? So women get held back like that. So we need to look at things like childcare and, even leave, maternity leave. We need to have leave for fathers as well, and acknowledge that they need the same types of leave as well, so we can have more balance.
Yes, Professor, that is true. And wow, I actually did not know that it have more women in the sciences at the university. I want to apply.
At least in UE, yeah. A lot of the faculties, there's way more women than men.
I did not
Yeah.
expect that, but that is really, really good.
Yeah. So it's a lot in Faculty of Medical Sciences. I can't give you the exact numbers, but when I have a tutorial, I probably have like 6 women to 4 men in any group of 10. So I think it's probably about 60%. I might be wrong. In other faculties, they have, it's a similar thing. You have mostly women.
Okay, that is really interesting, and I am glad that I found out about that. So, as a woman of the Caribbean in sciences who have made it really, really far, um, what words of advice would you give to women or anybody that wants to make it where you have made it or even further in sciences?
Oh, well, um, to start off with, I mean, are you talking about young people? Young people, I suppose, in school. Um, I think one of the most important things is, well, two of the most important things are consistency and balance. When I mean balance, I mean work hard, play hard. It's not, you can't, you shouldn't just focus all your energies on academics. You have to, your mind and your body needs more than that, and your life needs more than that. So you should ensure that you have a nice balance between work and play. I would, a piece of advice I gave yesterday when I was interviewed for one of the Women and Girls activities, and which I strongly believe is that, when you're young, older people always have things to tell you. They want to tell you, do this, do that, do the next. And you have your own mind, which is important. But what I have learned since, as an adult, and is that those people, and looking back on my life, those people who have your interest at heart and who you respect, older people, they often have, they know what they're talking about. So give them an ear and listen to them. And, you don't have to follow every piece of advice they give you, but give it the time of day. Don't dismiss it. The experience does count for a lot. So that's the other thing I would say. And I think the last thing is to remember that there's science and technology, engineering, math, it's huge. Potential is huge. You don't have to necessarily be a doctor, an engineer, sort of like these fixed things. You can, yes, if that's your passion, yes, you go ahead. But don't forget that there's more than that. And that if you get a degree in the sciences, it doesn't mean that you're locked into being a doctor working in a lab, etc. Or you can do so many things. You can be involved in journalism, so you can do science writing. You can be involved in policy. There are people who are, who combine art and the sciences. They're able to illustrate scientific, mechanisms and things, help scientists to communicate. Mathematics is very heavily integrated into all the other sciences now, especially in the biological sciences, where we have so much data to analyze and stuff. Mathematics is a very important part, computing, so it can all come together. And it's a broad field, so remain open-minded and follow your passion. Do something that you love.
Thank you very much for those words of advice. I will surely be taking that for myself on my journey. And that was all the questions that I had for you today. I'd like to thank you again, Professor Carrington, for sharing with us today. And it was a pleasure to meet you.
Okay, thank you so much, Brianna. It was a pleasure for me as well. It really was.